All right, today we are diving into something really fascinating. It's a look at a sermon that offers a totally different perspective on a figure that, let's be honest, has captured our imaginations for centuries, the Antichrist. So yeah, let's get right into this really unique and thought-provoking interpretation. I mean, that question alone, it just feels huge, doesn't it? Who is the Antichrist? It's this massive mystery that's been the fuel for so many books, movies, you name it. And that's exactly the question this sermon is trying to answer, but probably not in the way you're thinking. For most of us, when we hear that word Antichrist, a certain image pops into our heads, right? It's this single, super charismatic, powerful global tyrant who's going to show up someday and deceive everyone. It's a very cinematic idea for sure. But here's where this sermon takes a sharp turn. It kind of suggests that this whole epic external conflict, well, what if it's a distraction from the real battlefield? What if the fight isn't something we're waiting for out there, but it's happening right here, right now, inside of us? Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle that ancient question. Then we'll get into this idea of a struggle within man. After that, we'll find out what the idol in the heart is all about. Then comes the big one, decoding that infamous mark. And finally, we'll see the sermon's path to deliverance. So what's the big idea here? What's the central thesis? Well, the sermon basically argues that maybe we've been too focused on this one single future event, when in reality, this spirit of lawlessness is something that's been at work all along, an ongoing struggle that's happening inside us. And you know what? This isn't some brand new idea. The sermon actually points right to Scripture to back it up. This verse from 1 John suggests that Antichrist isn't just one guy. It's a spirit, a tendency, and it was already here almost 2,000 years ago. That's the key takeaway. It's a present tense reality, not just some future event we're waiting for. Okay, so if the battle is internal, then where did it start? What's the source? According to the sermon, the entire argument is built on this idea of a fundamental duality, a split that exists within human nature itself. And this verse from Ecclesiastes is presented as Exhibit A, really. It says, Elohim made man straits, but they have sought out many devices. The idea is that humanity was created with this pure potential, but we tend to complicate things. We create devices, and the sermon sees these devices as our own plans, our own idols, our own little rebellions. Now, to make this really clear, the sermon uses this amazing metaphor from the ancient tribes of Israel. Think of it like this. On one side, you've got the tribe of Yehudah. That's the line of promise, the line of the Messiah. But on the other side, you've got the tribe of Dan, who is described as a serpent in the path, representing rebellion and corruption. The whole point is that these two opposing forces, they exist inside all of us. So, if we have this duality inside of us, where does the fighting actually happen? Where's the real battlefield? Well, that brings us right to the next big concept from the sermon, the idol in the heart. The sermon makes a direct connection to the days of Noah. Think about it. Back then, the problem wasn't some evil world leader. The problem was the state of the human heart itself. The corruption was completely internal, coming from the thoughts and desires inside every single person. So what are these idols of the heart, really? I mean, we're not talking about statues made of gold or stone. According to this teaching, they're things like pride, lust, greed, self-exaltation, and maybe the biggest one of all, trusting in ourselves, in mankind, instead of in Elohim. That's the source of this Antichrist spirit. All right, let's get to the one everyone knows. One of the most famous and, frankly, feared symbols in all of prophecy, the mark of the beast. And yeah, this sermon has a pretty radical take on what this could actually mean. 666. I mean, just saying the number gives you a little chill, right? It's packed with all this dread and mystery. But what if it's not a literal barcode or a microchip? This interpretation asks us to look at it as a symbol. So here's the core argument. The text calls 666 the number of man. This sermon connects that idea to the basic building block of physical life on Earth, the carbon atom. Why? Because carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. So 666, it becomes a symbol for humanity in its purely physical, flesh and blood, beastly state. And this verse from Ecclesiastes is brought in to really drive that point home. The idea is the mark isn't something that gets stamped on you from the outside. It's an internal choice. It's the choice to live for and worship our fleshly beast nature over our spiritual one. It's about looking at ourselves and choosing to serve our own mortality above everything else. Okay, so if the problem is internal, if it's a corruption of the heart, it only makes sense that the solution has to be internal too, right? It has to be an internal transformation. And this is where we get to the sermon's conclusion and its message of hope. And this is so important. The whole focus shifts. It's not about waiting for some hero to show up and defeat some external bad guy. No, in this view, deliverance is about achieving a personal victory, a victory over those idols of the heart we were just talking about. And so, who is the key to that victory? The sermon points to the Messiah, using the Hebrew name Yahshua and the prophetic title the branch. The promise is that he will build a new temple, a new Heikal. But it's not a building made of stone, it's a temple built inside the hearts of people, cleansing them from that internal corruption, all on behalf of Yahuah. And this final verse from Isaiah just wraps it all up perfectly. It says when the loftiness of man, our pride, is finally bowed down, then those internal idols, they just lose all their power. They utterly pass away. And that is presented as the true final victory. So after all of that, this whole interpretation really leaves us with one big, powerful question to think about. It completely challenges the way we usually see things and asks us, have we been looking for the battle in the wrong place this whole time? Is the ultimate spiritual war something that's going to be fought out there on the world stage? Or is it being fought right now, in the quiet, unseen battlefield of our own hearts?